If you've been following the Israel-Palestine conflict for any period of time, you've probably come across the term Pallywood. For those who haven't, Pallywood, which is a combination of the words Palestine and Hollywood, is a conspiracy theory which claims that many of the supposed atrocities committed in Palestine, and Gaza in particular, are staged by crisis actors to trick people into supporting Palestinians. Some people define the term as provoking a violent response from the IDF and catching it on video. Others are referring to dummies like Jackson Hinkle spreading misinformation by using atrocities committed in other parts of the world and claiming that they're happening in Gaza. But I'm going to be focusing on debunking the first variant because it's the most commonly used. Let me just say, in case you had any doubts, the concept of Pallywood is extremely disgusting, racist, dehumanizing, and is straight up a lie. It's a propaganda tool used to make Zionists feel better about their support of Israel and make them doubt any evidence of the that is taking place. In the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history of Pallywood and debunk some of the many examples that have swirled around online. Pallywood is promoted by a diverse cast of luminaries. Lunatics. Here are a few examples. What's alarming is that Pallywood isn't just promoted by these losers, but also by legitimate Israeli journalists, AIPAC, and the State of Israel itself. Mentions of Pallywood on social media have increased dramatically over the last 10 years, particularly in the aftermath of the October 7th Hamas attacks. According to Logically Facts, most uses of the term originated in the United States, with the second being India and the third Israel. Alright, but where does this almost Alex Jones type of conspiracy come from? In 2005, a documentary was released called Pallywood, according to Palestinian sources. The documentary was about the shooting and killing of 12-year-old Mohammed al-Durra and the wounding of his father Jamal. Mohammed and his father were caught in the crossfire between Palestinian militants and the IDF in the Gaza Strip during the Second Intifada. On September 30th, 2000, a Palestinian freelance journalist captured video of the shooting, and it was aired on the France 2 news channel. The producer of the documentary, Richard Landis, a professor of medieval studies, questioned the authenticity of the video and whether Mohammed al-Durra was killed at all. Landis argued that the entire thing was staged by the Palestinians to smear the state of Israel. And Landis wasn't the only big name pushing this conspiracy. Israeli physicist Nahum Shahaf was another big promoter of this theory, and his supposed findings were used to exonerate Israel in a report commissioned by Benjamin Netanyahu in 2014. But what was the evidence that it was all fake? One clue is that near the end of the video, after being shot, Mohammed al-Durra can be seen lifting his arm and moving his head, which a dead person can't do, right? But if you watch the final moments in the unedited video, you can see him slumping into his father's lap because he's writhing in agony as he's dying. Just because the exact moment of his death is not captured in this video does not mean that he didn't die. In fact, he was given a funeral and buried in a refugee camp in central Gaza. Muhammad's father has even said that he's willing to exhume his dead son to prove that he was killed. Another piece of evidence that pointed to it being fake was that Muhammad was holding a red rag near his stomach to simulate blood. Okay, this is more of a completely unsubstantiated claim than it is a piece of evidence, but it was seriously put forward by conspiracists. As you can see, there's footage of him arriving at what appears to be a hospital, Al-Shifa Hospital, with a torn up abdomen. So even if he did have a rag, it was probably red from his actual blood. The next piece of so-called evidence concerns Jamal al-Durra, who was also shot, though not fatally. Although both were transported to Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, Jamal was later taken to a hospital in Jordan at the behest of King Hussein. According to the Cooper-Wasser report, Jamal presented his injuries as though they were bullet wounds when in fact they were from previous injuries. In 1994, Jamal al-Durra had been treated for knife and axe wounds after being attacked by a gang. His doctor, Yehuda David, claimed that Jamal's injuries after the shooting were identical to the ones he sustained years earlier, meaning that he was not actually shot. But there's a big problem. Dr. Yehuda David himself did not examine Jamal after his shooting injuries, and his claim is completely contradicted by the facts. Another doctor named Rafi Walden was given access to Jamal's 50-page medical file, which had pictures and x-rays of the wounds. The files showed that there were multiple gunshot wounds in addition to documentation about his previous injuries. Unsurprisingly, the Cooperwasser report failed to mention Walden's testimony despite being a reliable source. Jamal even sued David for libel and won, although the conviction was later overturned. However, the court still found that David's account was inaccurate, although he had given it in good faith. The idea that the shooting of the al-Durras was staged is ridiculous, notwithstanding everything I just said. It would require a lot of people to be part of the cover-up. The al-Durra family, people at the scene of the shooting, funeral attendees, doctors at the Gaza and Jordan hospitals, and even King Hussein himself. And yet, no one has ever corroborated the conspiracy theory, nor has any definitive proof ever been given. Okay, just so this video doesn't get too long, I'm going to talk about a few more examples that are more straightforward. A lot of so-called Pallywood is just anti-Palestinian lunatics taking videos and photos out of context and saying that Palestinians are claiming them as proof of atrocities. Here is an example from May 2024, which has 9,000 likes. There's a man in a stretcher with the makeup being applied to him to make him look like he was wounded, along with a man smoking in a body bag. That's clearly fake, right? But the fully produced version was never promoted by anyone as proof of Gazan casualties in the Rafah strikes that year. In fact, it's pretty easy to confirm that this was behind-the-scenes footage from a Palestinian TV show called Bleeding Dirt. Here's another example from Gazawood, which asks, is this a hospital? Again, it's from the same TV show, and even the community notes called them out. Yet that same account is constantly posting easily debunked Pallywood claims like this. Ophir Gendelman posted, "The Palestinians are fooling the international media and public opinion. Don't fall for it." Pallywood gets busted again. Yeah, except it didn't because it's not real. The video he posted was from a Lebanese short film about Palestinians. In this example, which has been viewed 250,000 times, Neo Berg claims that these dead people in body bags are Palestinian actors, and one can even be seen looking at the camera. Well, it turns out that this video was filmed in a Malaysian mosque and posted on TikTok almost a year prior. Another popular example is that Palestinians are using hyper-realistic dolls to claim that their children are being killed by Israel. And even the Jerusalem Post has picked up this conspiracy. The ADL debunked this claim, saying that the victim shown in the photographs was very real, a 5-month-old baby named Mohammed Hani al-Zahar. Evidence for the doll claim was based entirely on conspiratorial hearsay. Verified photographs of the scene, which were taken near Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, are available on Getty Images, and the Jerusalem Post eventually apologized and publicly retracted the article. Given the number of times that these types of posts have been debunked, it becomes clear that these accounts are just cynical grifters. Gazawood even has a link tree with 3 different ways to donate so that they can pay influencers and employees to spread disinformation like a fire hose. It's really sad to see them prey on demented old boomers and really dumb people of any variety. So if you ever come across Pallywood claims like this, and there are a lot, it's likely to be debunked almost instantly, and it's probably from a TV show. When you think about it, Pallywood is a strange thing to accuse Palestinians of doing. There's so much real death and destruction, it's completely unnecessary to fabricate more atrocities. But that isn't the point, is it? The Pallywood conspiracy isn't meant to be logical. If you think about it for too long, then the conspiracy isn't for you. No, it's meant to trick Zionists into believing that Israeli atrocities aren't real, or are at the very least over-exaggerated. Palestinians are just so clever that they've been able to trick all the doctors, journalists, human rights agencies, and the UN who have seen the carnage firsthand. Pallywood is a disgusting conspiracy that dehumanizes the Palestinians, denies their suffering, and attempts to vindicate Israel as it continues to slaughter an occupied people.